Well, hi there. This is Dr. Barbara Young, and I'm with the Total Woman Show today, and I want to welcome my listeners who are in, and my viewers who are in the studio today. Oh, we're so glad you're here. Woo! I'm so thankful that you're here. We are so excited. This is Transformation Success TV, and this is your host, Dr. Barbara Young, on the Total Woman Show, and we have got a show for you today. Look, I'm telling you, call your friends, listen to the show, or be sure to download this show so you can see it later. And you know, I have an app, which is Dr. Barbara Young. You can download that app on Google or Apple. It's free. And you'll get all of my shows and the radio talk shows as well. So stay tuned, okay? Well, this is a show today, and I'm welcoming my new co-host today, Dr. Donetta Pickett. Yay!
Thank you for having me.
She was so great on the show a couple of weeks ago. I told her to get back here, and she is a woman truly to be admired and respected. She has been in the construction, labor relations, labor agreements, and working with contractors, and as a consultant, has her own business. She also has Living Waters. I got it right. She's a minister, and she is the CEO, founder of Living Waters Ministry. So we're glad to have you on the show today.
So glad to have me back. Thank you.
And our featured guest, and you look gorgeous.
Absolutely.
You look gorgeous. This is my baby. I gotta say it publicly.
Oh,
This is my baby.
okay.
I just love her.
Beautiful.
This is Dr. Carol Provo, and she is just dynamic. And really, I'm going to read this because Dr. Carol is a clinical psychologist, and she's a licensed life coach, professor, and author. And today we are going to hear from her. Boy, has she got some stuff to say. She's been successful in the public arena, public service arena, including government agencies. She's been in private practice for a number of years and working with adolescents, working with adults and families, as well as you've provided a lot of community services in the community. And you've done a lot, Carol, for a young person, and you've done a lot of mental health counseling.
Yes.
And so I am so privileged, both of us, to have you on the show today to share, because as you know, with the growing population, the growing concerns and ills and mental health conditions that are showing up, and particularly as it relates to children. And one of the things that I wanted to share that Dr. Carroll has taught applied statistics for several years at a major university here in California. I can say that University is California State University, Dominguez Hills. So giving a big shout out to Cal State Dominguez Hills for having the sense to have somebody like you on the staff.
18 years
It's been
now.
18 years. That is absolutely amazing. Well, we're happy to have you on the show.
Yes.
And today, Carol's going to share 2 books that are soon to be released. And you're getting a first-hand report today of her books,
Awesome.
which are absolutely awesome.
Great.
Her book really is talking about how to escape the emotional trap of a mother who's narcissistic.
Yes.
And so, and also you have included a workbook, which I'm so happy that you have done that therapists, psychologists, and people who are working with counselors and coaches who are working with counseling victims of parental abuse and psychological manipulation. That is absolutely wonderful that you took the time to do that. Golly, I can't wait to.
Passion.
I know,
Beautiful.
and you know, but Carol, let's start with how did you get into this, knowing about narcissism? Because I had to research it. Let me tell you, I really did,
That's good.
because I don't think many of us are aware of the narcissistic. Am I pronouncing it right?
Narcissistic personality
Narcissistic personality disorder. It's one of several type personality disorders. It's a mental condition in which people have an inflated sense of their own importance, and they have a deep need for excessive attention and admiration. They have troubled relationships, and this is interesting, a lack of empathy for other people. So it's almost like a sociopath.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it's similar to well, you know, I'm not the psychologist.
Well, you're absolutely right, because those 2 disorders are in the same cluster. And so you find common features between the sociopath and the narcissistic
Absolutely. So now you're going to talk about narcissistic parents, And I hate to bring this up, but it's in the news everywhere
Yes.
about the abuse done to these 13 children that were found in Paris, California, in the conditions which were deplorable conditions. And so if that is a case, and I'm sure there's other cases of parent that they killed their baby and buried the child. I mean, there's just all kinds of things that happen, and you wonder if it's attributable to this mental disorder. So Carol, you're going to share with us today a little bit, how did you, discover that this was such a problem, or challenge, I should say?
Well, I was in 3 major settings. First, I was in an inpatient hospital where you have the moderately to severe mentally ill.
Okay.
And then I was in community mental health where I experienced a lot of families, children, teenagers, and adults. And then I was in private practice. So I began to see a theme, especially when teenagers are coming in and when adults are coming in, and you'd be amazed. And where we see it really is with the adults, because it's in your adulthood that you begin to really show the symptoms of what happened in your childhood. It's when it begins to resurface. Because what happens is people bury those things for sometimes decades. And so a lot of adults have been hurt, really hurt in their childhood, and it's just coming out and it's disrupting their adulthood. And so there's a theme in all those settings that I did see. And we do always look at the family system when you're dealing with any individual. And not to blame the families for everything, but there is a correlation between how you are parented and that primary caretaker and what comes up in your adulthood. And so just looking at those themes and those family systems, I began to see that pattern of narcissism and narcissistic parenting. And the victim of it does not know most of the time.
I see.
It's just the hurt and the pain is beginning to come up, just like any other kind of abuse.
Well, of course.
When they're telling you for the first time and they're 45 or they're 50 and they're not really understanding why did I get this far and everything fell apart? And it's in our research going backwards that we begin to see those themes of what kind of parents.
I'm going to say this too, Carol, that I grew up in an era, because I'm older than any of you ladies at the table, where, beatings were regularly administered. I mean, I don't know, if I had narcissistic parents or what, but you got your hanging. You got slapped. You got, pinched in church. I mean, abused. My mother would, if I talked in church, she'd take a piece of and twist it around. I mean, that was abject cruelty. So the thing is, where does the barrier or the line begin when a parent is just trying to use discipline, maybe a little forceful, and then the narcissistic parent?
I'm glad you asked that question, because there's a very distinct difference. There's a very distinct. In the mainstream, when we say narcissistic, what we think of is selfishness. But a narcissist goes far beyond that. There's an entitlement. There's a one-upsmanship. A constant one-up.
With a child?
Even with a child.
Oh, wow.
And there's a maliciousness, and there's almost an evil that goes with it. Because when your parents discipline you normally, there's a love behind that. There's a love, and you know the difference, and children know the difference. But with a narcissistic person or parent, there's a need to win at all costs, even to the cost of your child's well-being.
Wow.
That's different.
That is
different.
Yeah.
And there is a malicious, and I want to say this, and I want to make this very clear, is that what makes a child or an adult child or a teen child susceptible is their inability to think that someone could be purposely doing harm. A narcissist is always doing harm.
And they do it on purpose?
They are doing it on purpose? And what differentiates a syndrome like depression from a personality characteristic is that it's stable, it's who the person is.
Yes, that's right.
It's
That's
stable
right. That's
and
right.
it is fixed, and it is who that person is, and that person knows what they are doing.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
in that cluster B that includes those sociopath, psychopath, narcissism, histrionic, bipolar, those things, those are people who are eccentric. They can be lawless, they can be malicious, and they do know what they're doing because they choose. They choose their victims.
So they choose their victims?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why the child is the perfect.
So the child is a perfect victim.
The minor child, the teenage child, and the adult child is a perfect victim because who disrespects their mother? In our society, where we put so much emphasis on the queen bee, on the mother earth, on the one who is to be respected at all costs, her children become her perfect victim. And I have those chapters in my book. If you
my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh.
So.
I mean, this is awesome.
Wow.
You know, like for me doing the research on this, and it's like this disorder causes trouble in schools, trouble in financial affairs, and I didn't realize that these people are generally unhappy, disappointed with their lives, and particularly when they aren't given special favors. And it's like you always have to please them.
Always.
You always, and you can never
feed them,
ever
feed their egos.
say anything against them. You can never argue with them or countermand what they say.
And I describe it as a severe superiority complex, which hides
an inferiority
an
one.
inferiority complex.
Now, are they born?
To an extreme.
Are they born or are they made?
That's what my
Well, we have that
question was.
controversy,
That's what I-
nurture versus nature versus nurture. We do know there's a genetic component. However slight that may be, research doesn't really know how much of it is genetic and how much of it is environmental, but we do know a lot of it is environmental because if you think about their victims, if you think about they may have been victimized, we know that the environment does play a large role in how they become. You know, it can go from being victimized to having a real permissive parent, never being corrected, never having any standards or no guidelines.
Parameters, anything.
And so it could be any of those things. We don't know the particular cause, but we know the particular symptoms.
Wow. So you've got symptoms. You have victims. I hate to say victims, in a sense.
But it truly is because there's almost no defense. Even when you're not a child, you could be a spouse. You could be a friend. It's hard to have a defense except for really knowing, but to be able to identify it is something that is so foreign to most of us. We don't even know how to identify a narcissist in our environment. And so by the time you kind of get
a clue,
yes, you're probably
encounter one.
You've probably been drawn all the way in.
Is there a prototype? Is there a prototype? And I don't know if I'm phrasing it correctly, but in terms of wealthy versus poor, we look at class, class consciousness, in terms of socioeconomics. I'm just wondering, has there been research to define where they come from? Are they from socioeconomic high-end families, that have a lot, and or it's just
well, that's an excellent question because it's across all cultures, all social status, finances, all of that.
So
because it's a personality type. It's a personality type. Just like we don't know who's going to be kind of a gentle soul and we don't know who's going to be a disruptive baby. It's that same kind of thing. We don't know who, and they have not figured it out. They cannot pinpoint it. We just know when it shows up, usually it's too late.
And so a narcissist, they're aware that they are a narcissist?
They probably wouldn't call themselves that. They would probably see themselves as superior in intellect, superior in being able to win. The one place you see it a lot where it goes unnoticed is in business because they would be called aggressive or assertive or The worst place it can identify itself is in the family.
Wow.
In that workplace, you can almost get away with it, especially if you're a male, because then you're successful. And what you do, you win over others.
Right, absolutely.
But they actually believe, their belief system is that they are superior to everybody.
To everyone. And that's why it's rare that you see them in counseling. Very
Because
rare.
they're never going to come to counseling.
If they do, they're either court mandated. If they come privately, it's because they're at the end of their rope of somebody they're trying to manipulate. But if they cannot manipulate the therapist, they're most likely going to terminate that therapy. What you see and why my focus is the victim, especially the adult victim, is because it's just coming to light. Their lives are probably falling apart. They probably don't know what they buried. And for them to even identify, they wouldn't even be able to identify, oh, my mother was a narcissist. That's not what everything's falling apart. And so you're going to see mostly the victim of a narcissist in therapy. And I won't even know it at first until I began to backtrack through that family system.
How many do you think you actually counseled? A lot?
Over a 10-year period, I was shocked to see. And see, it's my own journey through my painful life that was able to identify it in someone else's painful life. And I was shocked at the number because I thought,
you were the only one.
I was the only one. Until I was sent all of the people who, you know, narcissistic mothers or violent fathers or, you know, really unhealthy families. And usually when a client comes in, they're not coming because they're coming to tell you their family's dysfunctional.
No.
I lost my job. I lost my job, or I'm getting a divorce, or my dog passed away.
Yeah, there are other factors that drive them.
And then
it's not that I feel I have a personality disorder.
Right, because they don't
here for you to figure it out.
Right.
But it has to be clouded in something else because then that would then have them admit, I am inferior.
Yes.
I'm not perfect. I'm not this person.
You know, and therapy is usually a product of the unraveling life. Because a little incident won't drive you really to therapy. It's the unraveling.
It's like a package.
Yes.
You open it up and then you find there's more, more and more and more coming out of that.
Avalanche as it gathers more snow as it's going down the hill.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and but the work is just
I'm fascinated, Carol, that you were drawn to this kind of work and that you were in an agency or community service agency where you were able to see and recognize these people because, like as you said, because of your own pain and experience.
Yes.
So what provided the impetus for you to write this book?
I really believe that my purpose is to bring hope to the hopeless.
Okay.
And I really think, and this is really personal for me, and I hope I can say it without crying, that God let me go to the depths of my own hopelessness and the depths of my own pain and the depths of my own struggle. And for me to find my way helped me. And a lot of my clients helped me find my own way. But now I know there is hope. No matter what situation you find yourself in, there is hope. There's a place that you will laugh again. You will smile again. And for me, my clients have been my greatest gift in my life.
That's right.
Especially, and I say this with all compassion, those that were suicidal. And they were telling me, I'm gone after I leave this session. I'm going to. And you know, that active suicidality where I know I'm going to, not the passive, I wonder what it would be for me not to be here.
I'm going
to. And I had a wonderful supervisor in my 3 years at the community health. It's almost like she gave me the hardest cases. So everyone, it's like I was on call for the person who was ready to commit suicide. And being able just to be there. Not always talking, but to be there.
But isn't it more about listening and understanding? And listening without judgment.
The empathy that was missing
for them
in their parental situations. It was there for me to say, Sometimes we think if someone is suicidal, we're going to go, no, don't, please, you have so much to live for. But I take the other avenue.
Okay.
Well, tell me why. And when they tell me, you go, you know what? If I would do the same thing if I were you. So let's talk about it in more depth. Let's go through and I've walked people through their suicide. And their
that's
ending.
the only way to do it.
And I made it objective. I took which was emotional and made it objective.
Yeah.
So they could put it on the table and see it and go, okay, well,
do
maybe I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that.
When I look at that, and when I look at, okay, and I had one client one time, and I said, okay, you'll do it at 2:00 today, and okay, and if I had your problems, I think I would too. But let's look at who's going to walk past the body once you're deceased. You have two younger sisters, and two a brother and a sister. And then now you've taught them that's how you solve problems. She changed her mind quick, fast, and that came through me.
Yeah.
That wasn't my skills and mine. I'm just all of that. It came through me to walk her objectively through. And she said, no, I think I changed my mind.
I think that's a good way of approaching it.
Yeah. Instead of getting emotional with them, like,
no.
Right.
But to walk them through that, and that is not a skill set for me. That is a product of spirituality for me.
It is.
And my calling is a product of that.
Yeah.
Because I never know what I'm going to do. I've had students come in my office in office hours and go, I'm going to do it tonight. And I go, okay, I get it. Well, let's walk through it. Good.
Wow.
All right.
But
and they don't know why they reach out.
They don't know why. Well, because the spirit knows.
Yeah.
The spirit knows who to reach out to. And one of the things that I was happy to have Donetta on the show today is because she walks in the spirit, and so she knows. And that this is benefiting, I know some of you out there who are viewing this show will begin to recognize that some people or somebody in your family or even you yourself may be suffering from this personality disorder. I'm really glad to have had you explain it, because there are so many, I don't know if you know that, you do, that the suicide rate has increased among our millennial youngsters that are just, it's amazing the rate, and they're just giving up on life and don't have the help. And could have been a product of a narcissistic parent. We don't know.
Right.
Because they're not here.
Member.
Or another family member.
Or boyfriend. That young girl's first boyfriend. Or that young boy's first girlfriend. Because they're not going to tell anybody. Because you're so caught off guard that you don't even know how to identify it. You don't even know. And the first thing they make you think is that something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
So you're going to hide that. And I want to say, just to take it a little bit further, that all of us, most of us, I'll say, have thought about what it would be like when life gets tough. If I just wasn't here, why do I have to suffer through this? And so...
No. I've never had that.
Okay. Well, most of us have thought. I know I have in the depths of my pain, because it's nothing wrong with previewing your life and thinking. And some people have some really bad problems.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
It's nothing wrong with thinking. It's who you're going to reach out to, and what you're going to do about it.
So for the victims, what tools do you give them to help combat some of the behaviors of the narcissist, or what can they do to make things better for them,
Because it's a victim, because a victim of a narcissistic person is the victim of a misuse of power.
Okay.
It's a misuse of power, just like rape. Just like sexual assault.
Okay.
It's not about anything, it's about power.
Gotcha.
It's to help them regain their own power.
Right.
And that if you can regain your own self and your own self-worth and your own power package back, then you're not a victim of someone else's power, but you can meet their power with yours. And it doesn't have to be real antagonistic.
Okay.
It could be as simple as no.
No,
is a
I'm
very
doing that.
powerful word,
I'm not.
but it's a word that we've been trained not to say to our parents.
Yes.
That's
and
right.
those above
There
us.
you go.
Yeah.
So you're a perfect victim of not being able to say, no, Mom, I'm not going to steal for you so that you can have a yard sale. And I end up in juvenile hall,
Hello.
and then you act like it was me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's one of the, I give cases in my book about
Right.
different
scenarios,
Yes.
yeah.
And so each chapter is followed by a real life case. And so our parents and those above us in our authority figures are the only ones we have not been given permission to say no to. And when I raise my children, I raise them, you say no to the teacher if it's wrong.
Yeah.
You say no to me
If it's
if I'm wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
And so to regain that power, which is a long journey,
It is.
because that
I
power
imagine
has
it
been
is.
taken
Yeah,
For so
for-
long.
and it has been manipulated, and it has been used as, you don't love me. You don't love me, and so this is why I'm doing this to you. And the child goes into a mode, an automatic mode of, can I please her more? Can I please
Right.
him more? Can I please?
Right.
Until they don't even know who they are anymore. And so it's rolling that back and a new discovery of self, and then giving them their power back. And it is a long, tedious.
It's a long journey.
It's a long
I wanted to ask though, have any of the people that you counsel, whether they're young or older, have said, why did God allow this to happen to me? Because I get that question.
And I
If
don't
there's
bring
a
that
good
up.
and loving God, why did He allow me to go through this?
And you don't get that in the therapeutic setting as much. If they bring it up, then I'll deal with it from that point of view. But I can't answer that question otherwise. Because a good and loving God, just like He's using the depth of my pain to help others, He'll use it for you to help someone too.
That's good. But
That's true. But can we also say, one of the most important things that I share with people when they ask me, why did God allow this to happen to me? God is in control of the universe,
yes.
but He's given us the authority to use it. And so He would then transgress against Himself because He's given us the power of choice and will. And those are the two valuable things that I value. So, you know, we don't want to take away that He's a good and loving God.
Right.
And that, but there are parameters.
And then remember that, just specifically for this topic, children don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Children don't have authority.
Yeah.
Children they don't wake up from this until they're about 50, 45.
Really? That's a long period.
Yes,
Sad.
because unless you get some other exposure to something else, you won't know that this
the
isn't
different-
normal.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know you're
Okay.
hurting inside.
But you don't know that it's
something's
not normal.
unraveling,
Right.
but you don't think to put it on those that claim to love you. And that's what's so hard. That's what's so heartbreaking.
Right.
When you look at the children whose parents are going for 25 to life and they were crying. They're the greatest actors in the world.
I looked
Come
at that.
on.
I looked
Crying
at that.
because they were sad.
Hello.
Because had they not been cuffed, they'd be still chained up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they would have no empathy. But they are the greatest actors. But it's going to be a long road for those children.
yeah.
But it can be done.
5 of them are in college.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and absolutely. What I was amazed, and as we close the show, is that the youngster who made the telephone call was so articulate. So obviously they had some sort of schooling, because she was using words that were pretty sophisticated.
But when
I
they
mean,
said, well, are any of you on medication? She said, what's
I
that?
don't know what medication is.
And then she sounded really young. That was the one, I think that was 27.
Yeah.
And she sounded like a
15
yeah.
or
You
less.
know, but it can be done, and that's the
Right.
note I
Right.
want. If you're willing, and it's hard. It's just like an addiction almost. There'll be relapses. There'll be people who go, but I can't go against that parent. I'm sorry. I won't be back. They can't fathom. They can't fathom, and I understand this completely. If I come to the realization that she or he, or them or they or whatever family member is a
perpetrators.
monster,
Yeah.
what part of me is the same monster?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's a long road.
It's a long road.
It's a long road.
Well, you know, I really want to thank you for being on the show today.
Thank
What do
you
you
for
hope
having
that
me.
the book, when is it going to be ready? And the title of her book is
Provoke Not Your Children.
Provoke Not Your
That's
Children.
right.
Yes,
That's the word.
provoke not your
Provoke not
children.
your children. I was looking at it and I was like, oh my goodness. I said, this, now when will it be available and how
I'm
can people get
hoping
it?
sometime this summer.
This
I'll
summer,
know in a few weeks.
Amazon and Nobles.
All of
Okay,
those
Barnes and Nobles,
places.
Amazon. Okay, you got to be on the alert for this book. And I realize that many of you have gotten a lot out of this segment today. We'll probably have to have you back because one of the things I wanted to have you say to people who are out there, where do you go for help?
Yes.
So would you please
Yes.
Just share, look into
And
that camera
and
just
that
say,
is a part of the book too. It tells you all of the avenues and all of the places that you can go for help. But reach out to someone, especially in the psychological arena. They will know what to do.
or even a teacher if you know nobody else.
Yes,
If you know.
anyone who
that can help you.
And there is a road back.
Well, I
is a
want to
road
thank
back.
you, Carol, for being on,
Beautiful.
Dr. Carol for being on the show, Dr. Pickett for you guys being on the
Yes.
show today.
Yes, thank
and I
you.
want to thank all of you who are in the audience today for sharing and caring enough to be here to listen and to view this show today. So I want to thank you, all of you out there. If you have any questions, comments, you can write me. I can get a hold of Dr. Carol and we can get more information for you at info@transformationforsuccess.com. Thank you so much for being with us today. Have a great week. This is Dr. Barbara Young with the Total Woman Show, signing off until next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Girl, this was heavy duty.
Oh, wow.